Why does prejudice persist against black people even now? Take a moment to consider this question deeply. Centuries of misunderstanding, fear, and jealousy have cast shadows on black communities worldwide. Studies, like those reported by the American Psychological Association, reveal a persistent societal perception. Black people are seen as a threat. But why? What drives these unfounded anxieties? Today on The Past Times, we uncover truths long obscured. Here, our mission is to reignite pride and understanding around black history and heritage, bridging all communities with knowledge that can transform how we view ourselves and each other. Love is one of humanity's most cherished bonds. It's where we find connection, vulnerability, and trust. But love, as strong as it is, can also bring out our insecurities, often those we don't want to admit. Have you ever considered why some people feel an instinctive fear of being replaced by others, especially in relationships? For some, this insecurity may show up as a hidden worry that their partner might be attracted to someone else. In society today, stereotypes can exacerbate this worry, especially when it comes to relationships across different cultures and races. These stereotypes paint black men as possessing unique charisma or physical strength, creating unfounded anxieties for others. Though we all know these are just stereotypes, they still find their way into minds, sometimes creating a sense of rivalry where there is none. Think about it. Our brains are wired to seek security in our relationships. Seeing the increasing diversity in relationships, perhaps some still feel vulnerable or even fearful, as if their own worth is being measured against these stereotypes. And as interracial relationships become more accepted, this shift reflects an important truth. Love, charisma, and connection are universal. This rise in acceptance and diversity is a positive reflection of society's growing embrace of different cultures, and it's proof that genuine love doesn't conform to stereotypes. Embracing this understanding helps us see one another beyond fears or differences, connecting instead through shared respect and admiration. Strength, resilience, charisma, these are qualities often celebrated, admired, and respected. In black communities worldwide, these traits have been especially prominent. For centuries, black individuals have displayed an inspiring tenacity, contributing to society with a physical and cultural strength that has influenced art, sports, and social movements alike. But history shows us that these strengths have sometimes evoked unfounded insecurities in others. In some societies, especially those built on colonial structures, black strength was seen as a challenge. Non-black societies often redefined what they valued, celebrating traits like fragility and delicacy, while sidelining those rooted in endurance and physical power. Figures like Aristotle and other ancient philosophers even promoted the idea that black individuals were meant to serve, a belief that was used to justify systemic mistreatment and discrimination. These ideas, though discredited now, reveal how deeply society's views were shaped by fear rather than fact. Yet time has shown that black communities have continued to thrive, pushing past these limiting stereotypes. Studies affirm what we see all around us. Physical prowess and cognitive ability are widespread and universal traits. The achievements of black individuals in athletics, science, and the arts are proof of a strength and resilience that benefit society as a whole. Throughout history, fears surrounding identity and survival have often fueled complex relationships between different communities. Take, for instance, the historical concept of genetic annihilation, a deeply rooted fear that once influenced societal attitudes during the era of enslavement. Back then, black individuals were viewed by some as physically strong, charismatic, and resilient. These qualities were seen as threatening to non-black enslavers, creating a belief that if black and white individuals intermarried, the so-called purity of one group's identity might be diluted or even replaced. Science tells us that when people have children, genetic traits from both parents combine and can be passed down to their offspring. For some, this natural blending of genes spurred anxieties, as if nature would favor certain traits over others. In many communities, This sparked fears that black genetic traits could dominate, even leading to legislation prohibiting interracial marriages. To reinforce this idea, laws like the one-drop rule were established, enforcing racial classifications and preventing interracial unions. But though these laws have since disappeared, remnants of these fears still linger. If you're finding this journey into history eye-opening, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. By joining us, you're adding your voice to a community exploring Black history and culture, contributing to a conversation that matters. The fear of extinction, the thought of one's identity fading away, is a powerful feeling that has long influenced cultural interactions. Throughout history, some groups have felt that their cultural or racial identity was at risk, particularly as societies evolve and change. This sense of threat often sparks intense emotions, especially among individuals who feel their place in society slipping. For example, certain extremist groups hold on to the belief that they're being replaced or overtaken. As society progresses and more opportunities emerge for historically marginalized groups, some fear that others are rising up too quickly. This feeling of scarcity, of a diminishing cultural influence, adds to their anxiety. Demographic changes, cultural shifts, and even birth rates amplify these fears, creating a desire to maintain their identity and legacy. Historically, systems were put in place to reinforce privilege and maintain certain advantages. Barriers like property restrictions, economic limitations, and exclusionary laws kept social mobility stagnant for many. But now, as these barriers fall, many individuals are pursuing their dreams and aspirations freely. This opportunity to thrive is one that everyone deserves, and its value is proven by how much those with privilege once sought to protect it. Let's talk about a deeper, often unspoken issue: the inferiority complex. Some ultra-conservative individuals, especially those who subscribe to supremacist ideologies, may not want to admit it, but they often secretly recognize the strength and resilience of Black individuals. This is where it gets complex. They may see traits such as survival capabilities and overall strength as a measure of excellence. And yet, they struggle with feelings of jealousy and even hatred. This battle within themselves stems from what psychologists call an inferiority complex, a subconscious belief that they fall short compared to others they perceive as superior. It's a feeling that can grow into low self-esteem, doubt, and resentment, often turning into hostility. In many ways, this dynamic is at the root of conflict between different racial groups. Experts on social and racial dynamics, like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., have often told us that hate is driven by fear. Fear of inadequacy, fear of losing power, and fear of being replaced. The authority on these topics tells us time and again that the only way forward is not through violence or division, but through mutual respect and understanding. Science shows us that the roots of this resentment often grow in the soil of self-doubt and insecurity. For those who struggle with these feelings, it's important to realize that commitment to self-reflection and personal growth is the key to overcoming them. By consistently challenging these fears, we can reshape the narrative and encourage a more inclusive society where all identities are embraced and no one feels inferior. What do you think? Are these factors we discussed the primary drivers behind hostility and misunderstandings? As we look deeper, we must ask, will there come a time when these fears dissipate, bringing an end to racism and discrimination? We invite you to share your views. Do you see strength and resilience as attributes shared across humanity? Or do you believe some traits are misunderstood or even mythologized? Your thoughts are an essential part of this conversation. If exploring these issues is something you'd like to see more of, we're committed to bringing you thoughtful content that shines a light on all facets of history and heritage. Don't miss out. Subscribe to The Past Times and click the bell icon for updates. Thousands of others are joining this conversation each week, learning and sharing insights that matter. By engaging, you're adding your voice to a growing community committed to understanding, empathy, and positive change. Thank you for watching, and until our next video, stay informed, stay engaged, and remember, Together, we can shape a more inclusive future.